Over 60? 4 fish that could be silently harming your health, and 4 that research shows can protect your brain and heart for decades to come. You walk down the grocery aisle, reach for what looks like a healthy piece of fish, and feel good about your choice. But what if I told you that some of the most popular fish in American supermarkets contain levels of contaminants that accumulate differently in aging bodies? A comprehensive 2022 study published in Environmental Health Perspectives followed 12,000 adults over age 65 for 8 years, and found something remarkable. Those who regularly consumed high-mercury fish showed measurably faster cognitive decline compared to those who chose low-mercury alternatives. The difference wasn't subtle. We're talking about the equivalent of 2-3 years of additional brain aging. But here's what gives me hope as a physician specializing in geriatric nutrition. The same study revealed that seniors who consistently chose the right fish showed improved cardiovascular markers, better inflammatory profiles, and maintained cognitive function significantly better than their peers. The key word here is chose. Because unlike many aspects of aging, this is entirely within your control. Today I'm going to share with you 4 fish that research suggests older adults should approach with caution, followed by 4 fish that multiple studies indicate can actively support healthy aging. Every recommendation I make is backed by peer-reviewed research from the past 5 years, and I'll provide the specific studies in the description below. Before we dive in, I'd love to know in the comments, what's your go-to fish? And have you ever considered how your body processes it differently now than it did 20 years ago? I read every comment and reply to as many as I can. If this is your first time here, I'm Dr. Stephen Whitman, and this is the Senior Thrive, where we translate the latest aging research into practical nutrition choices that can add both years to your life and life to your years. Part 1. 4 fish to approach with caution. After 60 fish, hash 4, imported farmed catfish. Let's start with imported farmed catfish. And I want to be clear, this isn't about catfish as a species. Wild-caught American catfish can actually be quite nutritious. The concern is specifically with imported farmed varieties, primarily from Southeast Asian fish farms. Here's what the research shows. A 2021 study by the FDA's Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition tested 847 imported catfish samples and found that 23% contained antibiotic residues above acceptable limits. Why does this matter more after 60? Your kidneys process medications and toxins about 20% less efficiently with each decade of life. What your body could clear at 40 becomes a burden at 70. The antibiotic issue goes beyond residues. A Johns Hopkins study published in Food and Chemical Toxicology found that regular consumption of antibiotic-laden fish can alter gut microbiome diversity. For seniors, whose gut health directly impacts immune function and even mood regulation, this disruption can have cascading effects. There's also the inflammatory fat profile. Imported farmed catfish typically contain omega-6 to omega-3 ratios of 15, 1 or higher. The American Heart Association recommends ratios closer to 4, 1. For older adults managing arthritis or cardiovascular issues, this imbalance can exacerbate inflammation. The solution isn't to avoid catfish entirely. If you enjoy catfish, look for product of USA on the label. American catfish farms operate under USDA oversight and maintain significantly cleaner production standards. If you enjoy catfish, look for product of USA on the label. Fish hash 3, large tuna species, albacore bigeye. Tuna presents what researchers call the Mercury paradox. It's rich in beneficial omega-3s and high-quality protein, but large tuna species accumulate methylmercury throughout their 15-20-year lifespans. A landmark 2020 study in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society followed 3,718 adults over 65 for 6 years. Those with hair mercury levels above 1.2 parts per million, achievable by eating albacore tuna twice weekly, showed 1.7 times higher risk of developing mild cognitive impairment. If you love tuna, consider skipjack, light tuna, instead. It contains roughly 75% less mercury than albacore, while providing similar protein and omega-3 content. Or limit large tuna species to once monthly, rather than weekly. Fish hash 3. Large tuna species, albacore bigeye. The mechanism is well understood. Methylmercury crosses the blood-brain barrier and binds to sulfur-containing proteins in neurons. Older adults show reduced capacity to synthesize glutathione, the primary antioxidant that helps clear mercury from brain tissue. Essentially, what younger bodies can handle becomes problematic with aging. The cardiovascular data is equally concerning. Research from the Harvard School of Public Health found that men over 60 with higher mercury exposure had 2.3 times the risk of sudden cardiac death, likely due to mercury's interference with electrical conduction in heart muscle. Does this mean never eating tuna? Not necessarily. The EPA sets safe mercury intake at 0.1 micrograms per kilogram of body weight daily. For a 150-pound adult, that's about 6.8 micrograms daily. One 3.5-ounce serving of albacore contains approximately 40 micrograms of mercury. You do the math. If you love tuna, consider skipjack, light tuna, instead. It contains roughly 75% less mercury than albacore while providing similar protein and omega-3 content. Or limit large tuna species to once monthly rather than weekly. Key takeaway: balance the benefits of tuna's omega-3s with mercury risk by choosing smaller species and limiting intake. Fish #2, king mackerel. King mackerel represents what toxicologists call a bioaccumulator. These large predatory fish can live up to 32 years, feeding on smaller mercury-containing fish throughout their lives. FDA testing consistently shows king mackerel averaging 0.73 parts per million of mercury, nearly 2.5 times higher than the agency's action level for commercial fish. A single 6-ounce serving can exceed a week's safe mercury intake for older adults. Always ask your fishmonger to specify the species. Both the FDA and EPA place king mackerel on their avoid list for pregnant women and children. I extend this recommendation to adults over 65, whose developing brains and compromised detoxification systems create similar vulnerabilities. Fish #2, king mackerel. FDA testing consistently shows king mackerel averaging 0.73 parts per million of mercury, nearly 2.5 times higher than the agency's action level for commercial fish. A 2019 study in Marine Pollution Bulletin tested king mackerel from the Gulf of Mexico and found elevated levels of polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, and organochlorine pesticides. These persistent organic pollutants accumulate in fatty tissues and have been linked to increased cancer risk and immune system suppression. For seniors, the stakes are higher. Research shows that adults over 65 have 40% lower activity of cytochrome P450 enzymes responsible for toxin metabolism. Simply put, your liver works harder to clear the same contaminants it handled easily decades ago. The confusion comes from the name. Mackerel includes several species with vastly different contamination profiles. Atlantic mackerel and Spanish mackerel are much smaller, shorter-lived fish with significantly lower toxin loads. Always ask your fishmonger to specify the species. Both the FDA and EPA place king mackerel on their avoid list for pregnant women and children. I extend this recommendation to adults over 65, whose developing brains and compromised detoxification systems create similar vulnerabilities. Choose shorter-lived, lower-trophic fish like Atlantic mackerel, not king, sardines, cod, or wild salmon instead. Simple swaps can reduce toxin exposure while preserving omega-3 intake. Fish #1, conventionally farmed tilapia. This might surprise you, but conventionally farmed tilapia represents what I call nutritional deception. A food that appears healthy but may actually promote the health issues you're trying to prevent. Let's break down why. From inflammatory fat profiles to feed practices and contaminants, and what to choose instead. Fish #1, conventionally farmed tilapia. Let's start with the inflammatory profile. A 2008 study published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association found that farmed tilapia contains omega-6 to omega-3 ratios of up to 11:1, compared to wild salmon's ratio of 1:12 in the opposite direction. Why does this matter? Omega-6 fatty acids, while essential in small amounts, become pro-inflammatory in excess. The Wake Forest University School of Medicine published research showing that tilapia consumption increased inflammatory markers more than eating bacon or hamburgers. That's not hyperbole, it's measured biochemistry. Then there's the feed issue. Cost-cutting measures mean farmed tilapia often consume rendered animal byproducts, agricultural waste, and even human sewage. A 2016 investigation by the Associated Press found that some Asian tilapia farms use pig and chicken manure as the primary food source. The result is fish with elevated levels of salmonella, E. coli, and antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Older adults, whose stomach acid production decreases with age, are particularly vulnerable to foodborne pathogens. Testing by the Environmental Working Group found that farmed tilapia contains 2.5 times higher levels of dioxins compared to wild-caught fish. Dioxins are persistent organic pollutants linked to cancer, reproductive issues, and immune system suppression. I'm not anti-tilapia as a species. Wild tilapia from clean freshwater sources can be quite nutritious, but the majority of tilapia in American supermarkets comes from intensive farming operations with questionable practices. When possible, choose wild-caught or U.S. farmed tilapia with transparent sourcing. If unsure, choose one of the safer species we'll cover next. Now that we've covered the fish that deserve caution, let's shift our focus to the remarkable healing potential of the right seafood choices. Now that we've covered the fish that deserve caution, let's shift our focus to the remarkable healing potential of the right seafood choices. These aren't just less bad options, they're foods that research shows can actively support healthy aging. Fish hash 4, Wild Pacific Cod. This mild white fish delivers an exceptional nutrient profile with virtually zero contamination risk. A 6-ounce serving provides 42 grams of complete protein, and just one serving provides 184% of your daily selenium requirement. A 2019 study followed 1,389 adults over 65 for 4 years. Those in the highest quartile of selenium intake showed 23% lower risk of cognitive decline. Selenium functions as a cofactor for glutathione peroxidase, one of your body's most powerful antioxidant enzymes. Pacific cod are relatively short-lived fish that feed low on the food chain, meaning minimal bioaccumulation of toxins. NOAA testing consistently shows mercury levels below 0.1 parts per million. Cod also provides phosphorus for bone health, B12 for neurological function, and potassium for cardiovascular support. From a practical standpoint, cod's mild flavor and flaky texture make it accessible to seniors. Bake or poach to retain nutrients. It's also typically more affordable than salmon while providing superior safety and nutrition profiles. Fish hash 3, Sardines. Sardines represent what I consider the perfect intersection of nutrition, sustainability, and safety. These small, oily fish pack more health-promoting compounds per ounce than almost any other food. Fish hash 3, Sardines. A 3.75-ounce can of sardines provides approximately 1,950 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. The Mind Diet study followed 960 participants for an average of 4.7 years. Those who consumed fish high in omega-3 AS at least once weekly showed 60% slower rate of cognitive decline compared to those who rarely ate fish. Sardines also provide vitamin D, about 164 IU per can, and substantial calcium from edible bones. Because you consume the entire fish, including soft bones, one can provide about 35% of daily calcium needs in a bioavailable form. This matters because over 40% of Americans over 60 are vitamin D deficient, which increases fall and fracture risk. Sardines are at the bottom of the food chain, feeding on plankton. This means virtually zero mercury accumulation. You could eat sardines daily without heavy metal concern. For seniors on fixed incomes, sardines deliver exceptional nutritional value per dollar spent. Canned sardines require no preparation, have excellent shelf stability, and are easy to add to salads or crackers. Try them 3 times weekly to reduce inflammatory markers and improve lipid profiles, according to research. Fish hash 2, Wild Alaskan Salmon, the gold standard for combining nutrition with sustainability. Fish hash 2, Wild Alaskan Salmon. The omega-3 profile is extraordinary. Wild salmon provides approximately 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per serving. A 2016 study published in JAMA followed 899 older adults for 5 years using brain MRI imaging. Participants with higher blood levels of DHA showed less brain volume loss and better preservation of cognitive function. Achievable through eating salmon twice weekly. Astaxanthin, the carotenoid that gives salmon its color, is a potent antioxidant that crosses the blood-brain barrier. Wild Alaskan salmon has contamination levels remarkably low, PCB levels typically 90% lower than farmed salmon, and mercury around 0.04 parts per million. Alaskan salmon fisheries are managed under strict protocols, making them sustainable and reliable for long-term food security. 2 servings weekly supports brain DHA levels and cardiovascular health. Fish hash 1, Rainbow Trout, U.S. farmed. Rainbow trout combines the benefits of salmon with even greater safety and consistent quality. Fish hash 1, Rainbow Trout, U.S. farmed. Rainbow trout earns the top spot because it combines the benefits of salmon with even greater safety and more consistent quality. A 2021 comparative study analyzed nutritional profiles of common fish. Rainbow trout scored highest for nutrient density while maintaining the lowest contamination index. U.S. trout farms use pristine freshwater systems with strict waste management protocols. Trout provides potassium for blood pressure, phosphorus for bone health, iron for oxygen transport, and a strong B vitamin profile, important with aging. Texture is tender, yet firm, easy to digest, and versatile in recipes. U.S. trout farming regulations require regular testing for contaminants, antibiotics, and water quality. The closed-system approach minimizes ocean pollutant exposure. Consistent quality means predictable nutrient and safety profiles for seniors. Start by replacing one serving of higher-risk fish with one of these beneficial options each week. To maximize nutrient retention, choose gentle cooking methods like baking at moderate temperatures, poaching, or light sautéing. Consider incorporating fish earlier in the day when possible. Fat-soluble vitamins absorb better at lunch or dinner. Quality sourcing is crucial. Look for clear labeling indicating wild-caught status or responsible farming practices. Let me address some frequently asked questions. Many seniors worry about fish bones. Both sardines and canned salmon contain soft, edible bones that actually boost calcium intake. If texture is a concern, mashed sardines or flaked salmon work well in salads or spread on whole grain crackers. Cost is another consideration. While wild salmon may seem expensive, when you calculate the cost per gram of high-quality protein and beneficial fats, it's competitive with many other protein sources. Sardines and trout often cost less than conventional meat while providing superior nutrition. For those concerned about mercury testing, hair mineral analysis can provide baseline mercury levels. However, by choosing fish from our recommended list, routine testing is generally unnecessary. The fish choices you make today influence your health trajectory for years to come. Research consistently shows that dietary patterns established in your 60s and 70s significantly impact cognitive function, cardiovascular health, and overall vitality in your 80s and beyond. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistently making informed choices that support your long-term health goals. Making these changes doesn't require a complete dietary overhaul. Start by replacing one serving of higher-risk fish with one of these beneficial options each week. Over time, work toward consuming fish from the recommended list 2-3 times weekly. What changes will you make this week? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Are there specific fish on today's list you're excited to try? Or perhaps questions about sourcing or preparation? If you found this information valuable, please share it with someone who could benefit, perhaps a spouse, parent, or friend who's navigating their own health journey. Subscribe to The Senior Thrive for more evidence-based nutrition strategies that can help you age with strength, clarity, and vitality. Until next time, here's to making choices today that support your healthiest tomorrow. Every recommendation I make is backed by peer-reviewed research. See description for full citations.